whether from organized criminals, sophisticated state actors, or indeed teenage hackers, is that the vast majority of successful attacks were entirely preventable through basic protective measures, including this year's global WannaCry ransomware attack, which affected, yes, the United Kingdom, but it affected India. Indeed, it affected nearly every country represented at this conference in this room here this morning. And that is why the UK is investing nearly £2 billion over 5 years to transform cybersecurity and make UK the safest place in the world to live and do business online. We are looking at how to ensure internet-connected consumer products are secure by default, so that devices are developed with security built in from the start. And we are also investing more money into training and addressing the systematic challenges of developing the next generation of cybersecurity specialists. And we also hope that many will end up working at our national flagship centre, the National Cybersecurity Centre in London. As the UK's national technical authority, it not only manages all our national cybersecurity incidents, but it also carries out real-time threat analysis and gives expert advice to businesses. We must also be realistic about how much individuals and companies can do to protect themselves from online attacks. We should expect them to get the basics in place, and that is why much of our guidance focuses on exactly that. But government is in a unique position to do more. One common complaint is that governments tell industry they are not doing enough on cybersecurity without understanding costs. We have responded to this charge by working directly with industry to reduce costs, an example being for using technology to detect and filter out more of those crude high-volume attacks that hit the UK. One example of this is piloting DMARC, an email authentication system that in its first year has blocked over 300 million fraudulent emails falsely claiming to be from government. Now, instead of having to warn the public not to open dodgy emails, we are preventing those emails from arriving in the first place. And also, it's important to create a trusted digital environment that drives growth and is more than just about technical security. Disregarding privacy and freedoms will not win consent and support of our citizens. This trust can only be won and must be won with transparency and respect for freedom and fundamental rights, such as the right to freedom of expression that we are all committed to internationally. These rights must be protected online as they are offline. At the first of these conferences, as I said, in 2011, our then Foreign Secretary, now Lord William Hague, set out 7 principles to encourage effective cooperation between governments, businesses, and organizations. These included the need for users to show tolerance and respect for diversity of language, culture, and ideas, perhaps no more poignant than right here in India, and also the need to keep cyberspace open to the free flow of information and expression. These principles are every bit as relevant today as they were then in 2011. And to this end, the UK is working on developing a digital charter with the aim of agreeing how our people and businesses should behave online in order to create an environment for societies and economies to flourish. I think we all recognize the potential of the internet to transform opportunities for people right across the globe. We saw that in this hall this morning. Secure digital technologies can revolutionize the lives of the poor, as we heard from Minister Prasad, unlock development and prosperity, and accelerate progress towards the global goals for sustainable development. And that is why the UK is investing millions in capacity building in projects worldwide that combine inclusive internet access with cybersecurity policy and skills. And to date, the UK has funded projects in over 50 countries, from helping development national cyber security strategies in Sri Lanka, in providing tailored training on cybercrime investigations in Nigeria, We have been working with many of you in this room, not least through the Global Forum for Cyber Expertise. And I have been pleased and impressed to see the incredible energy and ideas that have gone into forging a new global agenda for cybersecurity capacity building. To conclude, if I may, ladies and gentlemen, one clear lesson I've learned from our work, be it at home or abroad, is that everyone has a role to play. Everyone has a role to play in sustaining a free, open, peaceful, and secure cyberspace. And also that governments cannot do this alone, and nor should anyone want us to. This is about partnership. It is about collaborative working, and we can all help to roll the pitch. But as we know, the game will only be won through teamwork, involving businesses, civil society, and citizens. Only through that partnership can we create the right level of ambition, creativity, and potential. Your security, our collective security. It is our security. Your prosperity, our collective prosperity, is our prosperity. Let us all work together to really harness the technology and build a future that works for everyone. I'm reminded in closing of the famous words of Mahatma Mohandas Gandhi, who said, "We must become the change we wish to see." Let's become that change in cyberspace. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We just heard Lord Tariq Ahmed, Minister of Foreign Office, UK. Thank you so much. And now I invite Mr. Tariq Kamal, Senior Advisor to President ICANN, to please give your address. Mr. Tariq Kamal.
Good morning, Honorable Minister Prasad, Minister of Telecommunication in India, and a good friend of ICANN and myself and our host, Honorable Minister Lord Tariq Ahmed. As you have rightly indicated, we share the first name together, but also one of the middle names. So this might be an opportunity to look forward to your friendship as well with ICANN and us. Similar, likewise, with Minister Prasad. Madam Marina Kalojran, Chair of the GCCS, Excellencies, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first of all, on behalf of ICANN, welcome you here at the GCCS conference, and I am delighted to participate on behalf of Yoran Marbi, the President and CEO of ICANN, who was not able to be with us here today, despite that ICANN have been successfully participating on a CEO level in the GCCS conferences since 2011, since it started backwards in London. We look forward to our successful deliberations over the next 2 days, and we are very inspired by the opening speech of Prime Minister Modi, speaking about digital India and the way forward. I think this really gives the conference a good base for further discussions. The topic of this panel is the role of governments and the shift from the regulator role to the enabler role. And one of the topics that are really close to my heart. And in order to complement what has been already said by Honorable Minister Prasad and Honorable Minister Lord Ahmed, I want to look backwards together with you in order to make some observations. Innovation have been really revolutionizing the way of access over the internet and telecommunication over the last 20 years. We have used from analog technologies towards gigabit technologies and terabyte technologies. And we have seen that we are moving towards a borderless communication where the concept of the Westphalian model and the territorial model of telecommunication have been completely challenged and changed. Mobile services have been also revolutionizing the affordability. And we have seen that it is really democratizing the access all over the developing countries. And the first time I met Minister Prasad, he told me, Tarek, the internet is the biggest equalizer. And indeed, it is the biggest global equalizer as we look forward. He remembers that. The third observation is that we have been shifting with the e-government and e-governance services, automating the existing services, as we have heard the examples of India and the UK this morning, to automation of existing services within the existing frameworks, more toward automated services. Through that journey, we have been going through a number of waves of changes in policies. The first wave was deregulation of telecommunication services. And we can claim that this has happened successfully with the support of the ITU, the GSMA, and different organizations that have been hand-holding the industry worldwide towards deregulation and privatization and to moving to a new regulatory framework. The second wave of policy has been a wave of utilizing ICT for development. And we can also claim that to a great extent this has happened successfully, but using the existing frameworks of regulations, the existing frameworks of policies without introducing necessarily a revolutionary aspect in terms of legislations. Now, today, and as we have heard, we are being fronted with a new wave of digital economy. Technology, the fifth generation, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and Internet of Things are overwhelming. And definitely the legislative machine and the regulatory machine in the different sectors that are covering tourism, that are covering transport, that are covering banking and finance services are not necessarily able to catch up with the vast evolution that is happening in technology. What does this mean? This means that we are undergoing what we sometimes say the Urbanization of technology. Uber is not only revolutionizing the way of transport services, but it is happening in the different sector, whether we like or not. And here we are at crossroads. Either we try to take the existing frameworks of regulations and legislations and policies and try to tweak them to fit the new technologies, and to a great extent we will face challenges, bypasses, and maybe failures. Or we move forward to a new wave of policy that we have to develop together, and we look forward that we work globally on it in order to provide the right digital policies framework for the digital economy and for the evolution in the different sectors of economy that we use happening very rapidly through technologies. These sectors have been heavily regulated historically, whether the financial sector or the transport sector or other sectors. Today, they are facing immense challenges and we all need to help. We as a technical community consider that the role of governments really needs to shift within the coming years to a different roles, from regulator to an enabler. While doing that, we definitely look forward that this happens in an efficient way that really opens the window for foreign direct investment, enables technology to penetrate the different sectors, provide the right environment for entrepreneurship, attract really new talents in order to make sure that they have the right ecosystem and environment to be productive in a new meshed world. The shifts are happening, shifts of jobs, shift of power, and shift of finance and money. And I think that the governments really have to respond quickly and rightly to these shifts that are happening in the different sector within the different economies. Even the UN, when it announced 1.5 years ago, the Sustainable Development Goals, none of the 17 goals include a goal for ICT. but ICT is present in the different 17 goals that are there as a catalyst and as an enabler as we look forward, and definitely we hope to see that happening in the different sectors in order really to absorb the effect of the technology. Some people call it disruptive. I call it challenging the existing regulations while we go forward. We need to see really that the different agencies, cross-departmental on a governmental level, work together efficiently when it comes to digital policies and cyber policies. At our level, at ICANN, at the Government Advisory Committee, we start to see a shift of representation of governments at ICANN. It is not restricted anymore to the digital regulators that we have been witnessing over the last 15 years. Now we see ministries of foreign affairs, law enforcement agencies, and other players coming within the Government Advisory Committee to play a role within the multi-stakeholder environment of ICANN. And I think that this will happen across different organizations while we do forward. It is not only about challenges, but it is about opportunities as well, specifically for the emerging economies and the developing countries. We heard the success story in India, but similar success stories exist in different parts of the world, in Mexico, in Egypt, in Kenya with the mobile payment, and in other places in the emerging economy while we go forward. Let's not forget that the real growth in mobile services and internet penetration is going to come from emerging economies, because simply 60% of the population of the emerging economy are under the age of 30, and they are waiting really to become part of the global digital economy that we are putting the frameworks for together when we are doing the shift today from a regulator to an enabler. What should we expect from the GCCS process, if I may say, Madam Marina, not a conference, but the whole process since we have been starting back and looking forward? We hope that we see a real platform for discussion and deliberation about the digital policies, an enabling environment that really looks forward how digital policies can move from the role of regulator to the role of enabler. The role of light regulation, talking about framework of digital policies on a global level, and leave then to every community and within each country together with their governments to put the right frameworks for their applications. We have been working in a multi-stakeholder model at ICANN over the last 20 years, and it has been quite successful, with strong involvement and consultation with the civil society, the private sector, the academia, as well as the role of governments in public services area while we move forward. And we definitely recommend this model because we have witnessed its success in growing the domain name industries to a really successful industries that include as well internationalized domain names that are used in different languages. But is everything so easy? No. Definitely the biggest challenge, as Lord Ahmed has mentioned, will continue to be cybersecurity. In order to protect our citizens and gain trust in the systems, we need more and more to work together on the right frameworks on cybersecurity with the light touch of regulations that I have been mentioning. It is a huge challenge in order to make the balance between privacy, data protection from one side, law enforcement and cybersecurity from the other side. It's a huge challenge in order really to foster innovation and at the same time to make sure that we provide the safe and secure platform for our citizens to work forward. It is a huge challenge to introduce new digital policies in transport, in tourism, in finance, and in different sectors and application, while really making sure that we continue to provide the right platform and the right ecosystem moving forward. I expect and think that the GCCS process will help us in paving the way while moving forward. And just seeing the attendance here at the conference and the role that our distinguished host has been playing in making this happen, this makes us optimistic that we are moving in the right direction and that we will be really productive in discussing and providing some frameworks of digital policies that are effective globally to foster innovation and to help really improve our economy for socio-economic development. And as I mentioned, hopefully in a multi-stakeholder form. Ladies and gentlemen, let me again thank Minister Prasad for his hosting us here today, and look forward really to successful deliberations. And I'm here together with my colleagues, board members from ICANN and vice presidents of ICANN within the next 2 to 3 days in order to interact with you and to answer any questions about the activities that ICANN is doing in India, but also at other places of the world in a multi-stakeholder forum. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a successful conference and deliberation. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, sir. I will bring this into your notice that Natasha is here, and what honorable speakers are speaking, she is capturing in the form of graphics. So during the lunchtime, you can have a look. Thank you. Now I request Madam Marina, Ambassador Marina Kaljaran, Chair Global Commission on Stability of Cyberspace, Estonia, to give her address. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor and privilege to be part of this honorable panel and this discussion. I would like to recognize the organizers of the conference for putting this important subject on the topic of the conference. I'm proud to bring some gender balance to the speakers. I have been Estonian foreign minister, and I have been Estonian expert at the United Nations group of governmental experts on cybersecurity. And I'm so happy to see some of my colleagues here in the audience. And today I'm the chair of the Global Commission on Stability of Cyberspace, and I'm really happy to see some commissioners in the audience. I've seen the work of government from inside, from outside. I've seen how governments work nationally and internationally. And in my remarks, I would like to talk about 3 topics. First, about the role of government in providing cyber services and cybersecurity. Second, about the importance of multi-stakeholder approach. And third, about the importance of international cooperation. I do not come from the biggest democracy. I do not come from the oldest democracy. On the contrary, I come from Estonia, small but smart, with population of 1.3 million. Yes, million, not billion. But it's a government and it's a country where we are proud of, as we call it, e-lifestyle. It started with recognizing and having digital agenda and cybersecurity high on political agenda. Then came paperless e-government, digital signatures that save us annually up to 2% of GDP. Then came Skype. I hope you all know that Skype was invented by Estonians. Then came online voting, and today there are about 3,000 online services that are open to Estonian residents. We understand that digital lifestyle means digital dependency, digital vulnerabilities, and facing digital challenges. I'm proud that according to the ITU Cybersecurity Index, Estonia ranks #1 in Europe and #5 globally, although I admit that there is room for improvement. Cybersecurity is a complicated challenge already today, and we will face additional challenges with IoT, artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing. Cyber incidents have become new normality. Problems that are caused not only by malicious acts and actors, but also by industry flaws, vulnerabilities of supply chain, and low cyber hygiene of us, consumers. Threats have changed, but they exist. There are no 100% secure services or products online, neither offline. But the risks can be, and the risks have to be minimized. So what is the role of government, and what do I expect from my government? First, to provide open, free, secure, affordable, accessible internet connection. Second, to provide online services that break bureaucracy and kill corruption. Third, to provide secure exchange of data, integrity of data, and authentication of persons engaged in digital interaction. Fourth, to introduce cyber hygiene and cyber education to people, starting from the first grade and never ending. Fifth, to gain and keep the trust of people. Trust is something that is not easy to gain and is not easy to keep. But without trust, people will never participate in online services. And last but not least, I want my government to be vocal and visible internationally in securing and promoting safe and secure cybersecurity. I agree it's ambitious. I agree it's not easy, but it's doable. I've seen that. Governments just have to agree and admit some elementary things. Governments have to admit that cybersecurity has become an integral part of national and international security, the one that governments cannot effectively manage alone, for the first time in the history of mankind. Governments have to come out from their comfort zone and start cooperating with industry, private sector, and multi-stakeholders, not only in policy documents, but even more important, in practice. Because private sector owns critical infrastructure, because private sector provides online services, because private sector employs the best brains, the best IT geeks that governments can't afford. Different countries have different experiences. My country's experience started in the beginning of the 90s, when it was a clear decision by the government not to start governmental online services, but to support private sector and to buy services from the private sector. Governments have to accept that the only way to success is through cooperation with multi-stakeholders, in addition to private sector, both on national and international level. I am honored to chair the Global Commission on Stability of Cyberspace. It's a multi-stakeholder platform that comprises 27 prominent independent commissioners representing a wide range of geographic regions, as well as government, industry, technical and civil society stakeholders who can credibly speak on different aspects of cybersecurity. I'm proud to say that our commission yesterday made public our first document. It's a call to protect the public core of the internet and introduced a new norm on non-interference with the public core of internet. And I'm really happy to note that security, stability, and availability of internet were mentioned by all previous speakers. So what does the norm say? The norm says, and here I quote, "Without prejudice to their rights and obligations, State and non-state actors should not conduct or knowingly allow activity that intentionally and substantially damages the general availability or integrity of the public core of the internet, and therefore the stability of cyberspace. I would like to urge all participants of the conference, all governments, all multi-stakeholders, look into that norm and support us in our endeavors. Only together we can be successful. Third, what governments have to do, they have to think out of the box, and maybe even they have to think and act like startups. I'll bring a couple of examples. The e-residency concept that was started in Estonia 2 years ago allows foreigners access to some of the online services which are affordable and accessible to our own residents. We should not build walls, and we should not separate ourselves. Or it's the last time to start discussing the legal status of artificial intelligence. Some governments are doing it already. I know that artificial intelligence sits on the board of directors in one of the Finnish companies, Tieto, but there is no law yet. So it's up to the governments to be the front runners and to start looking into the subjects that are the subjects of tomorrow. And finally, I would like to emphasize the importance of international cooperation. Cyber does not have borders, and therefore approach to cybersecurity should not have borders. Where does international cooperation start? For me, it starts with trust and respect. It starts with respecting and fulfilling international obligations and commitments, adhering to international law, including human rights. Cyberspace is not a lawless jungle where those who have power rule. Already in 2013, international community agreed, and in 2015 reiterated that international law, in particular UN Charter in its entirety, applies to cyberspace. So let's start applying it. There might be questions, how? Let's answer the questions. Because if we don't do that, there are bad guys out who would like to take advantage of the gray zones, who would like to have advantage that we do not have clear answers to the questions. Some days ago, I learned that there are 84 international cybersecurity initiatives. 84. I don't know what all of them are doing. And I don't know whether they are all up to their purposes and objectives. But I know that there is never too much of discussions about cybersecurity. I see there is a role for global endeavors in the framework of the United Nations. I would like to recognize the regional endeavors. OSCE, NATO, EU are the ones from my region, and also the importance of bilateral dialogues, bilateral cooperations. I hope that all of these organizations have their role, have their mission, and have their mission statements. With that, I would like to thank you for attention. I would like to wish us all successful conference and inspiring debates. Thank you.
Thank you, all the dignitaries. Thank you, Honorable Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, respected Mr. Tariq Kamal, respected Ambassador Marina, respected Lord Ahmed. As a token of our immense respect and to honor the dignitaries on the dais, we would like to present them mementos. First of all, I request Tulika Pandey, Director in the Ministry, to please come up onto the stage and present a memento to Honorable Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad. Mrs. Geeta Kachpalia, Director in the Ministry, I would like to request you to kindly present memento to Lord Ahmed, respected Lord Ahmed. Alka Mishra would now present memento to Honorable Mr. Tariq Kamal. Alka Mishra. Swarnalata. This is the token of our immense respect and to honor the dignitaries. And now Swarnalata will come onto the stage and present memento to Ambassador Marina. Thank you, honorable speakers, for the deliberations. You all are requested to kindly join us for lunch, and we shall resume the next session at 2:15 p.m. And the lunch is being arranged in the Hotel Pullman. Thank you. Good luck. See you at 2:15 p.m. for the next session.